there a term that you would feel most comfortable with when referring to your cerebral palsy?
I would actually not prefer the term disabled because
Okay.
Yeah, I would actually prefer like people put like a person. Oh, sorry, I thought I heard something. Yeah, I would prefer like the term person with disability, or even better the because I went to Dubai like 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago now. And in the UAE, since like around 2016, 2017, they've been referring to the disability community as people of determination. That's how the UAE government refers to their own country's like disability community. And I actually really, really like this term because instead of like labeling someone, like instead of focusing on the disability, you're focusing on the person behind it. Like you're focusing on them. And I feel like you treat them more as people because it's like so many like different so it's like so many different like stereotypes and like certain views on disability, and people I feel like I get the feeling that people tend to focus on like the like, oh well, what can you do? You're like you use a wheelchair or you use like some other sort of device. Like I remember in the former intensive needs class at the ISB, there was this student who like used a talking device to communicate with, and I get the feeling that a lot of people like tend to focus on the limitations rather than instead of focusing on the potential, like what potential they do have and what skills they've mastered effectively. So that's why I really like the that terminology and other terminology which focus on the potential these people can provide to society rather than just like focusing on the disability itself. Yep.
So people of determination?
Yes. I feel like that more people need to use that term often. I feel like that it's one of the UAE's greatest achievements.
Yeah.
In fact, so if you have like any students from the Emirates who have previously lived in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Sharjah or Fujairah, just like allow them to promote that terminology at school. Yeah.
So let's make it a common term at our school as well then.
Yes.
For anyone watching this interview.
Yes. And like maybe I don't know the rest of the internet. Depends on where this gets posted. So
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Would you mind telling us a bit about what cerebral palsy is for people that don't know, and if you feel comfortable with sharing your own case?
Oh, of course. I actually implore you to ask me as many questions about this topic as possible. Now I'm in fact going to first of all get a visual aid to help me. So this is the sort of splint I wear at night. It's actually called the color I chose for it is actually the colors of the local Basel football team or football club Basel, and so this goes on my left leg. So in terms of my CP, I have like left side hemiplegia, so I have a mild form of the condition, and so yeah, it's primarily primarily affects the left side of my body. So this is why every time you see me, like if you were to see me doing something like writing or even eating food, like using utensils, I'll always be using my right hand because that's my dominant hand. That's my strongest hand actually. And so yeah, like for example, I have a sock here which goes with the splint, with the brace, and yeah, so the difficult thing for me is like, especially, well, I don't have difficulty walking. Like I do actually have special insoles which are designed to like perfectly mimic the shape of my feet. So like let's say for example, if I were to put my shoes on, my insoles were like they're molded, or I should say modeled, to help better like so I can sorry, I'm just like mixing words here.
Okay.
Yes.
Like
so yeah, my insoles are like the insoles of my shoes are designed to make my feet more like maybe I fit comfortably in my shoes.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't know why that took a while. It's just I'm just I'm just a guy who has like a ton of thoughts going on in my head at the same time. So yes, and also so yeah, that's like my brace. I told you about my shoes. And I also have I wear glasses quite a bit because I have difficulty seeing without them. But I suppose that doesn't necessarily have to do with.
Yeah,
I don't see what that has to do with the CP, but no, just so I mention it. I also like my world is like basically governed by like alarms. I have an alarm for everything. So if I were to get out my phone now, I would just show you. So here are my alarms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wait, is there a reason for that, or is like related to
it's so that way I don't forget anything. Like I know exactly when to leave because I, due to my CP, I actually can't drive. So that's why I like about living in Basel. I feel like that Basel is the best city I'll ever live in, and I'm not the only one in my family or my little social circle of friends, shall we say, that has an opinion. Like, so yeah, Basel is because the city is incredibly accessible. Like, I bet you'll know because you live in Geneva. Swiss cities, like they're not actually that big compared to like other cities, like let's say Rome or my home city of Sydney or Brisbane or many US cities. Like for example, in Australia, you really do need to have a car if you want to get anywhere. So like outside of your neighborhood, shall we say, because the public transport system actually isn't the best. And what I love about Basel is the public transport system is incredibly punctual. They'll remind you if there's an accident or if the tram's gonna be late. Like they'll say, sorry, the tram's late. Here's when it should come now. So I always know and like, okay, which tram goes where and which tram. So I can just like, for example, I work in the city at one of the local hospitals that help like individuals with disabilities or people with determination. So I work all the way in the city, like in the not necessarily the heart of Basel, but it's more like near the airport, and it's right near it's like France is gonna be. So if I were to travel any further in my work, I'd be in France, basically. Just to give you an area of where I work. And what I like is that I can take the number 11 tram all the way to the train station. And I can take a bus. Like the bus will automatically be there, or I'll just have to wait like 4 or 5 minutes at most for the bus to come, and then I can just hop on the bus and I'll be at work like right on time. So that's what I love about Switzerland. I don't need to worry about waiting. The bus isn't coming at this time. So yeah. And I like the fact that the city doesn't like you don't need a car to get anywhere. Like I walk everywhere. If I'm not using public transport, I'll usually walking. And I also like the safety aspect of Basel as well. So it is so safe. So yeah. I guess that you're familiar with all this because you live in Geneva, and I'm pretty sure it's the same as.
Yeah, not as punctual. The trams don't work as well as in Basel, I think, or in Zurich.
But you don't need a car. Like a car.
No, that's very true. That is very true. That is real. So, what is really cerebral palsy? Like, can you explain?
Well, it's a motor. So it affects the motor skills of a person. So I actually have an entire crash course I made on it in the 10th grade. Like I have an entire video series about it.
Okay.
And
so, is it in English? Could we like?
Yes, it is in English. So and it's also on YouTube. It's
great. Okay.
On the Atelier for Alle YouTube channel actually.
Okay.
So basically, it's a motor disorder. So it affects a person's motor functioning and sort of their motor skills, be it gross motor and fine motor. So in order to deal with like, and it's of course it's on a spectrum, so there are different spectrums about it. So basically, someone like my CP is going to be, it might be similar to someone else's disability, but it's not going to be the exact same. So like, for example, I know of a person I know of people who have CP, but they can like drive cars and sort of operate. So they can operate different. So they have different abilities to what I have. And I also, in my for my intensive needs class, there was a student who had CP, but hers was more severe. Like, she was in a wheelchair and she required more assistance to help support her. And of course, I'm not disclosing any names because I want to protect the privacy, the identities of those who I mentioned. So yeah, it's basically not going to be the same. Like, your experiences with CP are not going to be the exact same for everyone. They're going to be primarily individualized. At least that's my experience. That's how it comes across. And so yeah, and this dives into another topic which I'll be covering, which I recover on my podcast and in some of my presentations, which is the difference between visible and invisible disabilities. So like, mine's invisible. Like, if you were to if you were to sit right next to me on the bus, or if you were to see me like walking down the street, you might not notice that I have a disability. So yeah, that's.
Would you mind doing a quick plug for your podcast and YouTube channel for any viewers listening?
Yes. So do you want me to link it, or do you just want me to
if you could just talk about it, and then we'll add the link on the Nation's Voice article.
So yeah, my podcast is the JT Dragon Disability Rights Podcast. It's in multiple languages, primarily English and German, because I speak those languages fluently, as you can probably hear. Yeah, me talking right now. And the YouTube channel, it's for my art project, Atelier for Alle, but it also includes several other things like relating to my personal life. And so it's primarily hosted by my friend Owen Richards, who was the former student council president at ISB. And he was actually the student council president during my last year there. And then I graduated, and now he's finishing up grade 12. Sorry to be out there, but I just figured I should mention you because you're an important part of the channel and you're an important part of AFA. So yes, you'll see me, you'll see him, and also you can watch my CP videos. You can also see some other things related to what we do with AFA, which is actually AFA is the topic of some of your questions. So let's just get right on to those.
What was ISB's special curriculum that you talk about in your biography, sort of?
Well, here's the thing. When I first came to Basel, because I came in 2014, there wasn't that much there. Like, people have often described me as sort of like the pioneer of their disabilities program. I was always like the oldest student, and I was sort of and because of my needs, that sort of like translated into the school sort of continuing the program and introducing it to like the middle school and senior school for students who needed it. And it was, I did, especially during my last 2 years there, I had some individualized subjects. So I did like a basic maths, basic science, basically any subject I was not good at, like especially maths and science. Those are my biggest weaknesses, academic-wise. They were individualized for me.
Okay.
And like my and in terms of my other subjects, I did an SL standard level politics class, and those were, that was sort of my greatest strength. So I just went to that class normally. But other than that, as a life skills class, we did a cooking class every Thursday. That's why some of the teachers who went into our design room often commented on how good it smelled. and also did a pathways course. So like, for example, I'm not university material. So a lot of the knowledge I gained about disability rights, about human rights, about politics and history, I'm primarily taught myself. So because I just had a deep interest in those areas. So I just sort of educated myself during my spare time. And Pathway is what it was. It was basically like finding job experience, like work experience, and basically try out different areas. And based on that was actually how the DD Dragon moniker first came to be. Because it didn't start with a podcast. So with like a tour so with a tour project I did called DD Dragon Tours. The COVID-19 pandemic, I put that on hold for the time being, but basically I did guided historical tours of Basel to like interested families associated with the school. And also I showed some other special needs teachers from other schools around. So like for example, one of the teachers I did a tour for worked at the International School of Kenya in Nairobi, and another one worked at the International School of Brussels in Brussels, Belgium, obviously. Yeah. So that was an interesting experience. And so yeah, it was basically guided historical tours. I showed parents and teachers and students around Basel, explained the history of some of the city's notable sites, such as the massive cathedral and the city hall. So
hopefully COVID will allow that to come back, but like, and hopefully COVID will end and like we'll be able to.
Yes, yeah. So like I love reading history books. That's why like history is it's a massive strength of mine, and I love sort of having historical and political discussions with people, and especially like how I can link certain historical topics back to current political issues, like current affairs, like current issues happening in the news. So like I like exploring those areas.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you think that any school really, but also our school nations, how do you think that we could adapt our curriculum to better suit the needs of everyone?
Well, could you please explain to me what your school has already done, if you can, that is. So what does your school currently have in place to support individuals with different needs?
I'm not really qualified to answer that question fully, if I'm being honest. But
just,
do you have any like advice, or maybe not in terms of like the staff, because as I'm saying, I'm not really sure what is in place, but for the students, like how could we make it a more welcoming environment?
Well, I guess one of the big things you'll need to look out for is like adaptability. So do you have wheelchair ramps in place? Do you have teachers who are qualified and like teachers and, as you could say, like specialists, like guidance counselors who are, especially individuals who are like qualified to understand different types of disabilities and certain issues that students might go through? Because I feel like, especially from my experience, schools aren't necessarily like the best adept at understanding disability issues. And I feel like this is one area where they wouldn't necessarily like they do want to explore it, but they also don't know how to handle all like individuals with like different needs. And I feel like that one of the one of the things that ISB did right, especially towards the end, was like integrating students with disabilities into the wider school community. Like I just talked about pathways, and so like, but we also did like disability themed cookie sales to help raise funds for a charity in South Africa, actually. So, and I remember one time this lady, she came to our school and she like told us about like what's the experience of, or what some kids go through with disability, and so like how the school adapts. And she also demonstrated empathy. So she like had us like try to draw with our feet. I remember that happening. I don't know if it was at ISB, like might have happened at ISB, but it also might have happened because I know it definitely happened on some scout camps that actually went on back in Australia when I was in the scouts. And I feel that what your school really should do is like not just focus on disability, but focus on how disability unites different groups, because your campus is called the Campus de Nación. And I feel that with a name like that, you really should also explore like how not just the rights of students with disabilities, but how those rights can be translated to explore the rights of other minorities in your school. And so show how disability unites the school together under a common cause of raising awareness about human rights, and so it's not just about making a school accessible to students with disabilities, but it's also educating the students and staff who don't have disabilities about the rights of disability of the disability community at your school. And I feel that another way you can do that is also by having like individuals with disabilities like do presentations and make videos, and especially in multiple languages. So you can have like one presentation or video would be done in English, another one would be done in French, another one would be done in Spanish and German and Japanese, etc. So that's why I like about disability rights. It really ties the whole room together.
Yeah, I think that's a great point also, because our school is really trying, we're also coming up with a mission statement now to try and like bring everyone together and make a better world and have a positive impact. And I think it's a great point that we can use it as a way to unite everyone and to highlight issues everywhere, like all types of different minority groups.
Yeah.
You mentioned also that you were in the MUN Society at your school, and we actually have a program for MUN at Nations as well. Would you tell us a bit about your experience? What did you enjoy about it? What did you learn? Yeah.
Yes, well, actually, like during my first year at my first ever Basel Model United Nations conference, I actually won a certificate, which you can actually see up there. Let me just turn the computer around. Can you see it? It's about the picture there.
No, it's covered. It's a bit out of frame. Just
oh,
right. Okay.
Yeah, so I won that for representing Belgium I represent Belgium on the WHO committee, which was a special committee which I created for that one event, because they're like, oh yeah, we have enough people in these committees. Let's move some people to this new committee, which sort of covers everything, and we'll name after the World Health Organization. So we covered two topics. We covered like universal healthcare and how we can like help bring aid to like developing countries like Morocco and Algeria and Central African Republic and all those other countries. But we also like talked about disability rights, which was something which I had continuously like brought up with the like sort of student administration, but also the teachers who are overseeing it. And that was one of the topics we covered. And I won an award for representing Belgium at that particular sort of event. And that was my first ever MUN, actually. That was my first.
Impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. And if you have any teachers from Belgium, let them know.
Okay. Okay, I will.
Yeah, and I always assumed that I was like the German country representative, because, of course, I chose to represent countries myself, but I was actually appointed to like sort of chair the Human Rights Council at the next BARMON, and there we also covered disability rights, but we also covered the rights of Indigenous people. And then for the next BARMON 2020, which was my last one before I graduated, I was actually moved around a lot. So I was moved from chairing the Human Rights Council to chairing the Drugs and Crime Committee to chairing which of course is based on another real UN agency based in Vienna, Austria this time. So yeah, German-speaking country again, because Belgium actually does have German as an official language. I was then moved to actually being the presiding judge of the International Criminal Court.
Wow.
Which was actually in fact, my teacher, who was sort of overseeing our International Criminal Court proceeding, actually wrote that I did an exemplary job acting as a defense lawyer for that particular case.
There we go, career option.
Yes, because because I was like, I'm not just going to represent you. I'm going to believe in your innocence until the very end. So yeah.
Did you prefer being a chair or a delegate when you were?
Well, I'm actually not finished because I was then asked to represent Germany on the War Council. That was my final.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So yeah, well, I actually preferred both because I liked being a delegate because I could see the different countries' perspectives. And like, for example, when I was representing Germany, we did the conflict in Mali, but we also did the conflict around the Ukraine-Russia border, so like in Donetsk and all that, sort of the Ukraine crisis. And I liked sort of acting as a delegate because I could see, okay, what is countries doing? Like, what is their perspective? Where do they come down on this issue? Well, I get the feeling for me, both countries were neutral. So yeah, but I also like being a chair because I liked sort of seeing, okay, so I liked seeing how the different delegates debated, and I was like sort of overseeing it. So I sort of like seeing what it was like to be in power, and overseeing all these like types of committees. And however, I wasn't very good at writing clauses or committee papers. That was where I fell through on. I was really good at debating, and I was really good at making arguments, and I was just not good at putting some of those facts on paper, shall we say, because I repeatedly submitted papers and committee papers and position papers, but they all got turned away. So yeah. And I was like, well, what's wrong here? Like, what did I do? Like, what could I do better?
So, well, I'm gonna totally butcher the name, but how did you get the idea to start your art project?
Atelier for Alle?
Yes.
Well, it was actually thanks to the COVID pandemic, believe it or not. So this might sound crazy, but 2020 was actually one of my best years because of how productive I was during lockdown. Oh, wow. I literally said, I don't want this to end. Like, because this has been one of the most productive times of my life. Like, look how many podcast episodes I've made during that time. I was busy working.
I can't relate. I was not very productive.
Well, you're interviewing me right now, so that's a big step in the right direction.
Yes.
So the original idea was to start a project called Fire for Alle, and it was going to, as I wrote during the draft trial about description on our website. So the description you read when you go onto any about page on any website ever. I wrote that I quoted Winston Churchill in saying that we are going to now tear down the iron curtain between the disability community and the non-disability community. And that was how we're going to bring the whole room together and tear down barriers and sort of enter a new age of understanding and promote a new understanding between both communities. That was basically what I wrote, to a certain extent. But then COVID-19 happened, and we took our idea to Mr. Thomas, or I should say Owen did, because I graduated by then. And he was like, okay, look, I don't think thanks to COVID, we're not going to be able to do this like massive community event where we all come together. So I'm thinking, let's turn this into an art project. And I was like, cool. What do you have in mind? So basically Owen, he's basically the guy who helps run the YouTube channel. He edits all the videos. He's actually the one like showing the students how to put your ideas into art and sort of like, okay, this is a theme. Well, I'm basically like reaching out to everybody and trying to get promotion for this thing. And I am actually the guy that Owen ultimately comes to every time he has a new idea. So we sit down, we discuss it, like we like meet up. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, basically Owen's the guy doing all the behind the scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
How can we support the art project without actually creating art?
Well, first of all, we actually have a QR code. I'll just bring it up on my phone. Sorry. So I'm just gonna save a picture of the QR code to my phone. I'm going to copy it, and I am going to now. So paste the picture here. So this is the QR code that will take you to the website.
Okay.
So basically, when you scan this in, you have two options. One, you can either view the website in English or German. And this will actually be in the presentation that I'm going to be showing in May.
Thank you. Yeah. Because then if you can
but also you can like sort of, if you know anyone with this disability, introduce it to them. Like or if you have like family, friends who have people with disabilities and they're like talented artists or they want to get into art, you can sort of promote it that way. Like say, oh, here's an option for you. Here's what they're doing. Submit some artwork. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can like keep up to date on any new content we post there. Like we do sort of have like instruction guides on how to submit your artwork and watch the review of participant and etc. But you can also support us by following us on Instagram. We do have an Instagram page where we do post things to it. But ultimately,
quick Instagram plug, because I was not aware that there was an Instagram.
So we have an Instagram page.
Okay.
I recommended Instagram because I knew we're trying to target this to young people and young people on Instagram. So yeah, we do post things to there. Well, we post artwork. Atelier for Alle at Instagram.
Okay.
Actually, I'll just take off my headset and I'll get one of our Atelier for Alle business cards.
Okay, that would be great.
And I'm back. Can you hear me? Yeah. So this is our business card here.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got another QR code to the website on there. We got this. So yeah, you got this is our website, our English language website. The description here. We got our Instagram plug right there.
Right.
And we also got our Gmail plug right there.
You can't see it.
Gmail link
well because of the. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, Gmail,
that's
Instagram, description, etc. So, yeah, that's how you can get in touch with us.
Yeah.
And sort of email it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how you can support. If you're not an artist, you can like promote artists, appreciate artists with disabilities.
Or pass it on to someone who might want to be interested.
Yeah.
And then lastly, what about could you tell us about the podcast and like how you started it?
Okay. So one day I was sitting in class and we were covering unit 2, which was the human rights unit of our politics curriculum. And I turned around to my teacher and I asked him, okay, well, what about people with disabilities? Why haven't we covered the rights of people with disabilities yet? And then my teacher turned around to me. He said, well, why don't you cover it? And so he asked me to make it was initially going to be a 6-episode show about like sort of covering disability rights on different continents, disability, like the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is the UN Charter. I'm sure you know that already. Actually for a while, Mr. Green was like, well, why don't you do something in German? And eventually in season 3, because after I made those first 6 episodes, I just realized just how much I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed all the feedback I got. So I just continued it. And I was originally going to end it after season 3, but then I got even more feedback. And I was like, well, everyone seems to like it. Like they like my accent, they like everything about it. And I really enjoy doing it, so why give it up?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I enjoy all the feedback I've gotten over the last year, and I enjoy all that. And I don't think I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the combination of the podcast, of the tours, of the everything. I don't think I would be here right now, and I don't think I'd be here with Atelier for Alle, and I don't think I'd be speaking to you right now if it wasn't for the massive success of everything over the years. So yeah.
Yeah, you're really inspiring. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview and talking to us.